Hey everyone, welcome to CWEA's California Water Jobs and Cert Meetup. Our goal today is straightforward. We're here to help you get a water job. We're here to answer your questions and open up this hidden world of California water careers. My name is Alec Mackey. I'm Director of Communications for CWEA, the California Water Environment Association. We are all about supporting wastewater professionals and supporting new people who are entering our industry. Guys, thank you so much for joining us today. It is World Water Day. It's great to be here at the Desi House. We got to do some intros. So Gary, let's start with you. What is your title and briefly your water job?
All right. Well, technically, my title is a professor of water supply engineering at San Bernardino Valley College. But I am also, in terms of professional, a retired water executive from being the Director of General Services at Encino Wastewater Authority.
We're so glad you didn't leave us when you retired. You're still around. Here you are.
Loving CWEA.
Shawn, how about you? Title and what's your water job?
Currently, I am the Operations Supervisor at Cucamonga Valley Water District. So I oversee the wastewater collection system, everything within that.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
and I'm also involved in SARBS. So I'm Vice President transitioning into the presidential role with the Santa Ana River Basin of a local California Water Environment Association.
That's right. We'll have to call you Mr. President.
Not yet.
Very soon. Almost. And Romell, your title and
Yes. Hi, my name is Romell Eutsey. I'm the Wastewater System Supervisor for City of Pomona. And I'm also a director on the SARBS board.
all right. SARBS is in the house. So Romell, what was your career journey like getting into this industry?
So my career journey getting into this industry was pretty interesting. I worked in the warehouse industry, basically like distribution center style stuff, where I worked graveyard shift, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Wow. Missed a lot of holidays, missed a lot of birthdays, family events. I did that for over 5-6 years. Was able to purchase my first home, but my schedule was always I wished I had a better schedule, better pay, better benefits, better retirement. So I began to research into other career paths, and I started going to San Bernardino Valley College. They have a great water and wastewater curriculum there. And so I signed up and started taking the courses. Next thing you know, just gaining my knowledge, getting involved with the CWEA as far as registering and becoming a member. Eventually I had an interview and was offered a position at City of Colton Wastewater. So while I was at City of Colton, when I got hired there, I was fortunate and blessed to get hired there. I spent about 3 years at City of Colton, where I kind of learned all operations of combination units, Vectors, CCTV truck, leading crews, marking USAs, lift station maintenance, cleaning, plant work, just everything associated with wastewater collection. So that's kind of where I learned my basics, at City of Colton. At some point, I felt like there's a ceiling, and I was ready to transition. I want to go to a bigger agency, a bigger city. I applied at City of Pomona Wastewater. Kind of stepped out on faith when I went over there, and started at the bottom there as well. As a wastewater maintenance tech 1, I worked my way up to a crew leader, leading crews, CCTV truck operation, customer service calls, and other stuff related to wastewater collections. Worked my way up, and now today I'm the wastewater system supervisor.
Fantastic.
Bravo.
Yeah, man. That's a lot of roles in a short amount of time.
Yes.
And you start out digging ditches, and now you've got responsibility for all these people.
Yes.
That's fantastic. Yeah, so who told you about water? How did you know to go to San Bernardino Valley Community College's water program?
So it's funny, the reason why I ended up attending San Bernardino Valley College is when I worked at City of Colton is about 10 minutes away from our corporate yard, like where we worked out of. So it was just the logistics of where San Bernardino Valley College was. And my goal and what I did do was I worked to the end of my shift while working at City of Colton, and immediately after work was over, I had about an hour to get to my classes. So the logistics of it was pretty nice, just having to drive about 10 minutes away from the wastewater treatment plant that we worked out of to San Bernardino Valley College. Yes.
Nice. Fantastic. Gary, how about for you? What was your journey? You know, you started, what, 2 or 3 years ago in this industry? And
yeah, just a couple.
What's the secret? What is the secret to getting into this industry?
Wow, my journey and the secret, that's a couple of different issues. But my journey started, honestly, with the United States Navy. I was an electronics technician there. So I knew a lot about electronics. The Navy did have a great tendency to teach the soldiers well, if you will. So as a result of knowing that, and then transitioning out, I started again semiconductor manufacturing. So it was all part of the electrical or electronic kind of world frame. And what really got me thinking was the fact that the company I was working for, I won't mention their name, but they left the United States and moved to Singapore because of the cost of labor. And here we were making these ECM modules for engines and electronic control modules, ECM. And I was thinking, well, we don't have a customer. So I was trying to find an industry that has no problem with a customer base. And it just seemed to come to me. It might even have been a God movement or a God moment. But it said water. So I started taking a couple of courses in water. I never really wanted to be an operator. And this is probably not where you're trying to get at here, Brother Alec. But, you know, there are more avenues of getting into the water industry than just always being an operator. The thing you have to do is find out your forte, you know, the thing that makes you, you, and then just expound upon that. So me, obviously electronics. So when I got into the water industry, I was electrical instrumentation technician, boot on the ground. But, you know, when you do that, if you're good with mechanics or you're good have a mechanical aptitude, then maintenance technicians are necessarily in the water industry as well. If IT is your forte and you like, you know, the ones and zeros of binary action on computers, then, you know, IT is also another part or an area or activity that you can use to get into water. Whatever your forte is what you do. So mine was electronics and field devices and calibrations and, you know, all of those things. And not quite sure if I answered all of your question, but the thing that really gets me is the fact that you have to do what is you, what is real to you, you know. And as you move forward in this industry, which is a wonderful industry, you can see, and I shared this with Shawn and Romell and Alec earlier, you know, most people in the water industry are very passionate people. They enjoy what they do. They enjoy the industry, and they're trying to make it better than what it already is. And that's where we all are, is just trying to make an industry even better. And we're very passionate about the water. So you got to do what is your forte, whatever it is that you know makes you want to get up every morning. That's what you have to use. And it is still, whatever that could be, it is still can be used in the water industry, and that would be your avenue of getting in.
Yeah, everybody has something to give.
Everybody has something.
You're on the money. That is a fantastic answer, because I think, look at this table. When you talk about water jobs, everybody's like, I want to be a water operator. I want to be a wastewater operator. The competition to be a wastewater operator, it's quite
huge.
Intense, actually.
Yeah,
super intense.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we have a maintenance and instrumentation executive. We can't find any instrumentation techs. You're churning them out as students as fast as you can. We have senior collection system managers, which is a role like nobody knows water. I don't know if anybody knows collection systems exist, but there is far more to our industry. And then I'm in communications. Social media, you can put those skills to use.
Yes,
I mean, we got to convince people to use less water. Don't flush wipes. Don't flush fogs. There is something for everybody. So that is right on the money. There are so many more roles, and you can learn about those by taking tours. How do you learn about all these different roles? Here's a random question. How do you find out about the different career paths? Who wants to take that?
I could jump into it.
Yeah.
Beautifully put, by the way, Gary. Like, I love how you kind of outlined it, and it's so true to the industry, regardless of what you do. I think it's so important that you have that passion, but like you find your niche. You know, anybody can do a job, anybody can get a job, right? Well, not any job, but you find your calling, right? For me, it was a combination of people, communication, similar background to Romell, where maintenance background, good with my hands, good with learning stuff, right? But I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know where to go from that industry. But you ask, like, how you find it. Like, sometimes you'll have people that come into your pathway that kind of say, hey, you know, I knew a guy, I worked in warehouse as well. Good with my hands, good with mechanical, that kind of thing, good with people. Loved communicating, loved learning, right? Anything I did, I just want to do it 100%. So this guy went out and he got a job at DWP. So he tells us, like, hey, tells everybody. Because, you know, people who are passionate about it, what do? They tell everybody,
They
right?
tell everybody.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
And he says, you know, go take a water class, go to wherever. And it's like, well, where is that? You know, you don't know where to go. So I start looking up the different schools, and there was one that was wasn't as close as Romell's, but I went to Citrus College. So they had a good water program at the time, and started taking classes. And then as you start taking those classes, you start learning about the industry in general. You get tours of treatment plants, you get tours of facilities, right? So this whole world just opens up, and you can just see all these pathways. And like you said, it's perfect. There's IT, there's mechanics, there's pumps, there's electronics, there's different types of system, everything. I mean, there's this huge, vast network of pipes that's under the ground that we know about. Like you said, a lot of people don't know about it, but we know about it because we work in it. But when you learn it and you start to see it, it just opens up everything. So then, you know, you start at that level, like you start learning. And once you start learning, you find where your niche is and you find what you really like versus like, I thought I would go into that, but then who knows? Like for me, I literally stepped into it, right? Wastewater. So I was looking just water. The industry is just so, you know, big on water technology, right? So all the programs are even water technology programs. They don't say sewer or wastewater, right? And I started applying at places. And at first, I got nothing. But once I got a certification, right? So we'll use acronyms too. So certifications. So once you start getting certifications, you're now on the board. Like you now start getting on the radar. So as you apply for agencies, maybe you get an interview, you get an invite to an interview, you get invited to do a test, like a physical test or like a written test, and then that can lead to an interview. So you start getting more and more hits, and then like any industry, it's up to you to kind of market yourself and market what you have that you offer, whether it's your determination, your organizational skills, your technical abilities, your competencies, your mechanical abilities, like whatever you have, your strengths, you use those, and you use those to help you kind of maybe get your foot in the door in one of these agencies, right? But that path to get, your original question was to get towards that, you know, you take those steps, you know, you always have to do the work. You always have to put in the work.
You do.
You have to learn. Certification is huge.
Yeah, it is.
Because, I mean, I think we've all talked about this, where before you could get in entry level. If you had a military background, it was a huge plus because they knew you have commitment, you have determination, you know, you early to rise, late to rest, right? I mean, you have a really good work ethic. So they know that's a good hire. But now, the market today, you're competing against people that not only have that work ethic, but they also have certifications. Industry-specific certifications, right? Which, within water and wastewater, with me, it's both. Like, I've learned both. I've done both. Like, I have wastewater and water certifications. But where you work kind of will dictate that. Sometimes, you know, you end up in wastewater. Sometimes you have water. Sometimes you do both. I mean, it depends on the job. You might have to wear numerous hats, right? But
absolutely,
it's super rewarding. And you know, I guess that's kind of how I got towards it, or how you would find out about it usually. But you can look in any one of your agencies, your cities that you live in. You can find community colleges, you can find trade schools, tech schools, and a lot of them now are getting back to that trade programs and getting to offer those classes that are specific. Valley's a good one though. Valley's a great one, local to us.
Program.
I just didn't know about it back in the day, so I took what was, you know, not so close, but
if you stumble along long enough in our industry and have that passion and hard work, you will succeed. You can't understand or know everything right from the beginning. So let's summarize, because Shawn just gave like all the secrets. Take a tour, right? So there are treatment plants in every single city, both water treatment and a wastewater treatment plant. So go take those tours. Your agencies are happy to do that. They'll have open houses.
Yep.
Go to those. Ask the operators. The second thing that's really important is look for those community college programs. Valley College, Cucamonga in San Diego, Laney in the Bay Area. Right. There are really great community colleges taught by industry experts that are going to get you started in this way. LA Trade Tech in Los Angeles. And then the third one is certifications. So people looking at our industry, this is like certify what? Cert, you know, like a candy? So Romell, what are we talking about here? Why do professionals need these certifications? Which ones do you hold?
Okay, so the reason why in this industry you need certifications, you have to obtain them if you want to advance, if you want to have an opportunity to even interview, is to display your technical and professional expertise in the field. So I currently hold a CWEA CSM grade 4, which CSM means Collection Systems Maintenance grade 4, which is the highest in collection system. But basically, there's 4 grades in the CWA, you know, for the certifications. And you start out, you know, CWA CSM grade 1. That just displays your competency, your knowledge, more like on the book side, you know, your knowledge, your field knowledge, your knowledge of safety, rules and regulations, environmental regulations, your knowledge of equipment maintenance, customer service, just anything associated with what the daily tasks are as a wastewater collection system maintenance worker. Sorry, I got stuck for a second. What was the question one more time, Alex? I just want to make sure, man.
Why do water professionals need the certifications? Okay.
Yeah.
So once they obtain and, you know, the adequate certifications, basically it just displays their ability to gain higher certification, showing their expertise, knowledge, and level of commitment to their craft. And it's essential, I would say, to obtain your entry-level certification prior to getting in this industry, and also to obtain, you know, the highest level of certification if you want to advance in this industry. And then, Alec, another thing I wanted to touch on when you were asking about how can others find out about this industry, one thing I'd recommend is I often tell others, there's bcwaterjobs.com, governmentjobs.com. There are so many avenues out there, along with going to local city district websites where you could take a look at the jobs that are out there to see what the jobs descriptions are, what are the minimum requirements, and just kind of gain more of an idea of what's available out there. So I often, like, anytime I see somebody that seems like they're eager, they're a hard worker, I'm like, hey, you should look at bcwaterjobs.com, governmentjobs.com, cawaterjobs.com.
You know, there's
so many opportunities out there, but you have to do your research and find what's out there, what the minimum requirement is for that. And then once you do find out what the minimum requirement is for it, to obtain that, if you're interested.
That's right. Yeah. I mean, all the answers are in that job description. They're extremely detailed, and they're going to tell you, and this is still where our industry is a little far behind, because it's like entry-level trainee, 5 years of experience, and like 10 certifications. We are working on that. There are more internships and apprenticeships and student worker jobs. But read those job descriptions, because they also talk about the agency. Like, if you're going to be applying, you want to know, is it a city like Romell's, or is it a special districts like Shawn's? They're sort of doing different types of things, and that job description will give you that background on them. So that is a great value. And certifications are kind of like not a game, but you can want to collect them all.
As many as you can.
As many as you can, because the employers will require them. They might give you some time, or, hey, man, it might be required. And that's why getting certifications ahead of time helps, because you're ready for that job opportunity or that promotion. What other certifications do you both hold?
I have both. So I have collections. So in my industry, the agency I started with, I actually started here in Harupa. The agency I started with, at the time, they required just wastewater. So the job specific, like again, I looked at water and then I saw wastewater. I'm like, okay, I didn't know a lot of the difference. I looked into it, and then that was a certification I had to get, right? So I got my CWEA, California Water Environment Association, grade 1 collections. And then when I moved to a different industry, a different agency, Cucamonga Valley Water, they require both. So because some utilities are specific, you have a collections crew or a wastewater crew that just does collections. Some do both, some kind of intermingle. So ours kind of intermingles. They are two separate positions and titles, but we work alongside each other. So we'll co-work together, right? Yeah. So because of that, we need both. So, and they require that, or they encourage and require it, so that you're well-rounded, so that you have both, right? And it's a good idea. I recommend to everybody. When people ask, they'll approach me and say, hey, what do I need? I'll say, get both. Get your distribution, get your treatment, get your collections, get all of them, because it makes you well-rounded and you learn within the industry. So like Romell had said, and yourself, it shows a level of competency, right? It doesn't mean you can do the job, but it exposes you to it. It exposes you to that knowledge that you're required to have, the regulations, all the different things within the procedures and the different types of demands upon that job. So with mine, my agency requires both. So currently I have collections grade 4, but I also have water distribution grade 4. Just took my grade 5, passed it. You have to, within water and wastewater, there's differences, both of which being the lower levels, you can usually just come in, you sign up for the test, you pay, you get study packets, or you go to trainings and workshops and learn what you need to study and the knowledge you need to learn to pass the exams. And then you get the certifications, and you can work your way up to grade 2s, grade 3s, grade 4s. Above grade 2s, you typically have to start accumulating job experience, knowledge, and things like that to justify getting those higher level certifications. But currently, I guess long and short answer would be collections grade 4. I also have plant maintenance. I have distribution, and then I was also a treatment plant operator for a while. So I have freshwater, water treatment grade 3. So I have multiples. Yeah, but the whole package is good, like you said. Yeah. You don't want to just pigeonhole yourself into one thing, as well as Gary's comments that you never know where you end up. I mean, it's a big industry, and everything, like every city, like you touched on a good point, and that was, if someone wants to know, I've been approached by people like, hey, how do I get into what you're doing? Like, ask somebody. You know, go to an open house. I mean, that's a great one. Absolutely. Go to community colleges, see what their programs are. Look into it, because I guarantee you it's big, it's vast, it's open, and there's just so many pathways. Yeah. You could get in, and electrical and instrumentation is its own niche, but people can come in through maintenance and then work their way up into that. Within my agency, it's very similar. People typically come in with maintenance, whether it's a city or a special district. You work your way up, and then you kind of find a niche. Maybe you go over to pump operating and production. Maybe you get into treatment. Maybe you go over to customer service or field service. Like, you get into these different areas that encompass the whole well-rounded aspect of what that agency does. But it is similar, whether it's a city or a special district or sanitation agency. You know, we serve the public, right? Yeah. So we have that, you know, we have that demand on us, and that that need for regulation and for knowledge of that, but also to serve, right? So
it's the mission.
Yeah. So certification is definitely key, and it will help you. It will only help you. And like you said, the other aspect of that, I think that's important to touch on with people, is you want to have it necessarily before you need it. You don't necessarily, you don't want to get the job and then have to get that cert. You want to try to get it beforehand, so you have it in hand, so it's a lot less stressful.
Right.
Otherwise, they will typically give you a year, 6 months to a year to get that.
To get it done. Yeah.
But it is, you know, it's some more pressure. So.
Don't pass that exam, and it's not good. Yes.
Yeah.
These are legal government agencies, and so if you're not able to get the certification, then your job will come to an end, unfortunately.
And for good reason.
Yes,
I mean, we protect the public. We're here to, with wastewater, to keep it flowing in the pipes, not coming out of the ground, and with water to keep it, you know, to a certain standard. So regulations are there for a very good reason. So.
Yeah. So get your certs, collect them all. Really important to emphasize Shawn's point that the grade 1s, while it's ideal to have experience, you don't need experience. In fact, almost everybody will go out and get their distribution, their treatment. And you own this thing. These are hard to obtain, but you know, you will be extremely proud because it is called a certification for a reason. This certifies that you have achieved this body of knowledge and command that body of knowledge, know it so well, like you said, this is a craft. This person knows that craft and they are certified for it. So, you know, these are serious, like, exam rooms. Like, they take everything from you. They ask for your ID. They video you while you're taking the exam on the computer. It seems over the top, but this is all legal, man. And once you've got that, you are certified.
Yes.
Professional wastewater collections. There are other certifications, Romell, that I hear about. What about your CDL, your backflow, your cross connection, your HAZWOP, little things you can collect?
Yes, so definitely. One thing I wanted to throw out there too is that often when I talk to people, whether in industry or not, related to wastewater collections, but this could go for water distribution, treatment, or production as well, or any other avenue of water resources. Many municipalities do require certification, whether prior to you starting or when you are, you know, or after a certain amount of time after you work for the organization. So sometimes what I tell others is that you have to invest in yourself, because the way I put it is I'd rather invest in myself on the front end and believe in my ability to pass this test, pay for it, which it does require money. So it's a investment in yourself, and you're putting faith that you're going to pass this exam. And then once you begin working at an organization, when you get an opportunity, what will happen is they will generally reimburse you, because there's renewal fees and certification fees as well. So if they do the hard work and invest in themselves even before they get into the industry, they'll just give them a head start. Another certification that's required in wastewater collections is NASCO. NASCO is the standardized coding that we use for CCTV. So we have a universal language when they're conducting inspections of our pipelines. As we all know, we're dealing with aging infrastructure. So NASCO coding, our operators, you know, it's essential for them to be able to code defects properly. In cities like my city of Pomona, we basically, once an employee is off their probationary period, we basically pay for them to go get NASCO certified, which is, it's over $1,000. You know, it's a hefty price. But with that being said, it gives you a wealth of knowledge. It gives you so much information and skills to add to your team. So NASCO is a very important one. I know they have pipeline assessment, manhole assessment, and lateral assessment. I hold all three of those. You know, I'm NASCO certified. And that's something that if you want to stand out, NASCO is something you're going to want to look at, because as far as wastewater collections, that's something that is needed. And especially
it's universal. It's a universal coding system, so everybody's speaking the same language, you know, so there's no confusion.
Correct.
What you describe as a pipe defect, a contractor can look at, any other agency can look at, a state agency can look at, and they know exactly what you're talking about.
What's going on.
Because they're exactly the same.
Also, other things that are very important as far as certifications are, you know, it's forklift certifications, first aid, AD, confined space, trench shoring, fall protection, HAZWOPer. There's so many different things. Once you're working, traffic control.
Traffic control. Man. That's
critical.
where people end up hurt or dead.
You know, because one of the most important things in our line of work, especially for our teams and for ourselves, is we want everybody to make it home at the end of the day.
Absolutely.
So we stress safety over everything. You know, safety is the top priority. We want everybody home safe. We want everybody having the knowledge, skills, abilities, and the tools to do the job that they need to do. So there are classes that when you do, you know, get on with an agency or municipality, that they will send you to mandatory classes to give you trainings, which provide certifications. I know there's also, you know, as Gary mentioned, at your local junior college, some junior colleges offer certification programs and other type of certifications related to safety and other things like that, construction and safety.
He touched on some really good points. One of them is construction. So the two biggest things in our industry are construction, right? Excavations and repairs. Because the pipe is in the ground. It was laid in the ground God knows how many years ago, right? I mean, I've seen pipe from City of LA that's from the 1800s. And, you know, you look at, this is the amazing thing about the industry, though, is it is an aging infrastructure, but some of these companies that do linings and trenchless repairs and things like that, they'll tell you that they look at this infrastructure and they're like, it's beautiful. It looks like a piece of art. I mean, someone went in there manually creating through brick and mortar a pipeline system, a manhole structure or whatnot. So some of the stuff is really old, but not to say that, I mean, yeah, you need to replace it. You need to do rehabilitation work and things like that. But when you look at this pipe and you hold it in your hands, you look at it, you can see the age of it, but you can also see it still functions, it still works. But not all of it's like that, right? The workmanship. But because that pipe's in the ground, people forget about it. You know, not agencies, because, you know, we're required to rehabilitate our system, but you have to dig it up. When people damage it, or you have to dig it up just to proactively replace and repair your system. So because of that, the two big things in our industry are trench shoring, excavation, as well as traffic control. Those are the two probably most dangerous aspects of our jobs, right? So because of that, like he said, you need to have that training. Every agency, every city, every district requires, and they provide that training for their workforce so that they're aware of those hazards. The general public, usually, they know, but oftentimes they're getting a little irritated, a little mad, you know, they're on their cell phones. So it's kind of a dangerous thing for that reason, but also just awareness. A lot of it is awareness. So the more heightened awareness you have, the more knowledge you have in that industry as a competent person with excavations, or as someone who's highly skilled and trained with traffic control, the less likely you're going to have an incident, and the more likely you're going to be able to go home and your crews will go home without an incident, you know. So key importance.
I'm so glad you said that, because one of the things that's great about water is it's a big team.
Yes.
And it even becomes a big family. You're there for each other. You have each other's backs. And we do certifications to sort of demonstrate that everybody on the team has all the shared knowledge. Because, you know, one of the hidden dangers in water is confined space. So if you don't know about all these little things, if you walk into a confined space, little H2S, you pass out, man. You're going to take other people with you. You may pass away. So certification raises the level of knowledge, professionalism of everything, so the team can take care of each other. But Shawn, I know you're passionate about even giving back and doing more. You want to help these people get their certifications. What are you doing to help people, and what do you recommend to get started on their certs?
You know, that pathway's always been difficult for people to kind of find and just mentor and get and receive knowledge and instruction and training. I mean, there's formal institutions like Valley College or community colleges where you can take programs and you can learn a lot of what you would need to know for knowledge to help you pass certification exams. Or you can go the other route. You can, you know, look locally. You can look with your local chapters, your local groups, or CWA events like Tri-State or annual conference, or different functions that help you get exposed to workshops or things that can help you with all those different capacities. I've always had a big passion for technical certification. You know, for me, it was not a struggle. It was a struggle, of course. Everybody who's getting into the industry, it's never easy. You get like anything, you have
The
to
math.
The math. You have to put in the work. You have to learn all the facets and all the different, you know, all the different knowledge that, like you said, you know, that's a big one. Confined space is a huge one. It's very technical, right? There's all these different gases you have to know, these different ranges of gases that could be present. You know, there's the equipment. There's all the different things that involve a confined space entry, you know, or permit required confined space entry. So each different capacity for those jobs has a generalized portion within that certification, but you still need to know all those different facets, right? So I like working with people. I like, you know, helping people learn that, absorb that knowledge, teaching them more of the essentials and more of like everything involved in it, so that, you know, like not everybody is great at math. You know, some people, a lot of people hate math, and that's one of the things that really throws people with the exams is the math. But for me, that's one of the biggest joys working with them is seeing that aha moment, or seeing when they get it. You know, because it's not easy. Anybody who has been exposed to our industry and sees the math that we do, they're impressed. They're like, wow, like that's some pretty advanced math. And the cool thing about it is you can learn these formulas, you can learn these conversions, you can learn the ability to conduct, you know, the math problems to where it doesn't matter whether you're trying to figure out how much liquid is in this flask or a giant millions of gallons reservoir at a well site. Like it's the same. It's the same concepts. And that's the beauty with math, is that it doesn't change. It's fixed, you know. So for some people, it's those elements that are difficult. For other people, it's the general knowledge. We talk a lot about acronyms. There's tons of acronyms in our industry, right? So, you know, whether it's PPE or whether it's, you know, industry related. Regulations is another big one. Because why? Because it changes. You know, it's not always the same. it continues to become more and more stringent, right? And we need to know this. We need to know this whether we're a grade 1 all the way up to a grade 4. Because why? Because we're out there and we're exposing the public to this material, or, you know, water and wastewater. So we need to know our regulations that we work under, operate within it, but also help people understand that so that they're cognizant of that, you know, when they're doing their jobs and things like that. So, yeah, I mean, the certification process, it's not as simple, like you had pointed out, as just, hey, I'm going to buy a book, I'm going to take the test, I'm going to pass it, and then I'll get that job. You know, sometimes you have to get more in depth with it and be assisted or mentored or coach people into like getting over that hump, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, we so appreciate everything that you do. Shawn is a world famous trainer, and so lots of people bombard him with questions. Man. There are people out here, you know, water professionals who love to give back, like Romell and Shawn, and just helping the next generation. So there are wonderful people in this industry here to help you. You just got to ask for it. So I'm going to ask for your help, Garry. These kids want to get their certification. How does it work? They can go to the community college, they can go to Valley College and get their water certification or their instrumentation certification?
Well, you can get a certificate of achievement and or an associate's degree in water supply technology, depending on, you know, again, your niche or where you want to move through. But there's a couple of things that we've been talking about with certifications. I like to kind of mention on some things that Romell and Shawn have said. One of the first things that I do in my water resource management course is there's a discussion topic where you have to go and see the number of agencies around you, and you have to list what those agencies are. The purpose of that exercise is to let the student know that there are, in some cases, a plethora of agencies available for them to look at potential job opportunities and distance from their home. So they'll have to see. I also teach that you got to be willing to travel sometimes. You know, to have what Romell had. In terms of leaving his job and going to school, a 10-minute trek, you may have to travel 50 miles in order to go to a job. So you may have to have that availability to you. And then the one thing about continuing certifications is that it has a tendency to increase your marketability as a person trying to get in, whether it's a grade 1 or whatever, because I know at Valley, we have courses that will prepare you for Distribution 1, Distribution 2, Treatment 1, Treatment 2, CWEA, Electrical Instrumentation, Grade 1. These are all entry levels. And then even we're developing courses to help you with the plant maintenance, Grade 1, certification through the California Water Environment Association. Still, as a professor, I still have a plant maintenance grade 4, and I also have a electrical instrumentation grade 3. And those are all necessary. And what happens, though, and I teach this to students, and then I'm going to shut up here in a minute. When you get the interview, and I think this is a good suggestion for anyone that's trying to interview. A lot of times when we interview, you make the mistake of trying to tell the persons, I can do the job. I can do the job. Well, I want you to know, people who are listening to this, they already know you can do the job. That's why you got the interview.
Yes.
What you need to do now is focus on how you can differentiate yourself and how you fit in the organization that you're applying to. So that's going to take you doing some research on the organization, the agency, or what have you, so that you can speak their talk, if you will. You'll know their jargon that they use as an organization, and all you're trying to do is really just sell yourself. Mm-hmm. You know, another benefit of the certifications is that yes, you can increase, and you're showing a higher level of knowledge. You may not necessarily have the proficiency, because you don't necessarily have the experience as an entry level, but you're showing the higher level of knowledge.
Yes.
That in and of itself has a tendency to make agencies and organizations start to flow trust your way. So the more certifications you have, the greater the trust that, oh, well, if your name happens to be Gary, Gary, you can do this job. We know you can do it. Why? Because you've got the CWEA certification for electrical instrumentation. You've got the DHS D1, D2, T1, T2. You have all of these certifications that allow them to start trusting you and trusting you more. And again, as I say, you know, you can look at your community college, which is, in terms of the bang for the buck, in terms of the money that you'll be spending, is a great investment. And Romell already said, you know, you've got to invest in yourself.
Yes.
You know, you have to be important enough to consider, you know, where you want to go. Develop a plan. It doesn't have to be written down per se, but draw pictures, you know, and what they call that mind
mapping.
Mind map.
Yeah,
and just kind of, hey, this is where I'm at. This is where I want to be. What is it going to take me to get there? I need a little bit of education. I need some certifications. You need to prepare yourselves for the opportunity that once it happens, you can move right in and engage that opportunity, whatever it may be. You know, Romell had to have known that his certification and his trying to increase his knowledge eventually was going to help him build a moving towards an opportunity of being a superintendent or supervisor there. Yes. The same would be true with Shawn, him and his knowledge and certifications. You know, once the opportunity avails itself, you have to be ready to move in that direction. You've got to go, and you got to make it happen. So some of this is the responsibility of the person, but the infrastructure is already laid for that person to engage through the local community college. I know at San Bernardino Valley, we are ready and prepared for any student that wants to come through. The college has a wonderful reputation in the industry, and you know, we're trying to create opportunities for people through internships and or cert prep classes, if you will. We do have certification preparation courses where we'll teach on a non-credit level of how to, you know, study for those knowledge, skills, and abilities that are necessary to pass CWEA's, at least, certification processes. So that's value for you, and that's what I believe the community college can do, as well as just, you know, you've got to invest in yourself.
Yes.
You got to know what's around you, and what jobs are available, and get in. You know, it's old school, but you got to get in where you fit in. You know.
Yes.
That's exactly where it is.
Yeah. You find things along the way too.
Go ahead, Romell.
Another thing I was going to bring up, you know, Gary and Shawn, you guys, and Alec, you guys all brought up really great points about certification. There's another one that I was thinking about that I highly encourage my team and anyone else outside of my team to look into is Cal State Sacramento correspondence courses through Ken Curry.
Oh, yes.
I know they have wastewater treatment, wastewater distribution, management, supervisory stuff, wastewater collections, from field level up to managerial. So these are correspondence courses. And another thing, touching on what Gary was speaking about, I too attended and still attend San Bernardino Valley College to this day. And one thing that they have is remote learning for working professionals. Yeah. And I think that's a game changer nowadays. I'd say after COVID, it seemed like there's a real shift to where working professionals could attend, you know, online, maybe because of their schedule, their families, their other commitments. So it kind of made things a little bit easier if people have, say you're working 2 jobs, you have kids, you have, you know, other commitments that you have to be at. So there's ways that it just gives you another opportunity. So I highly recommend the Cal State Sacramento Ken Curry courses as well, because they offer certifications. They're correspondence courses, and they can be completed online, and it's done on your timeline. And once you complete those, you get certification. all that adds value to you. So once again, you know, it's just things that are going to, you're investing in yourself here. You're sacrificing your time to invest in yourself, which is going to pay off in the long run.
Absolutely. And Romell, we got to give props to you because you got a family. You're always learning. You're always adding new certifications and degrees. And I think that's the philosophy. So the theme is always be learning, always be prepared. It's you don't know what you're preparing for a little bit, but in this industry, we are always trying to upgrade our skills, our knowledge, and that just leads to wonderful things. It's like magic.
Yes.
Gary, what skills and personal attributes do you believe are important people have to be successful in water?
It's a great question. I think it's similar. Not only well, first off, I consider it all one water. Okay, it's not just wastewater, stormwater, recycled water. To me, it's all the same water because it's just in different levels or different areas that water is being utilized. But when I think of that in the industry that we deal with, you know, and even for the virtual student, time management is huge. You have to be able to look at what's required of you, be able to develop your plan based on your available time, manage it well enough to have your assignments turned in on time. And that attribute could also be used in the water profession. Then you have to also be able to, we've been sharing this all morning, is continued learning. It's like a lifelong learning process. Even though you might consider the job you do routine in and of itself, there are always innovative ideas that are coming about. Attending the annual conference through the California Water Environment Association can help you learn some of those innovations that are coming your way, or participating with some of the local section trainings could also continue to help you understand and learn more of those innovations, again, coming your way. These are low-cost activities that also may be able to even involve you in finding out a new job or a job opportunity that's somewhere as you're working through. Me in San Diego section, Shawn and Romell, the SARBS, which is the Santa Ana River Basin section. There's dams, the Desert and Mountain section. There's CORBS, the Colorado River Basin section. CWEA has a wealth of local sections throughout the entire state that can provide an added trainings so that you can continue that lifelong learning. Another attribute, like all of us, you got to be able to work without supervision. You know, sometimes they'll just send you out in the field to do whatever. I don't know, maybe your maintenance and you need to go get an oil change for the truck or something. They're expecting you to take that truck, go down there, get the oil change, have the oil change, check whatever you need to check, and then bring that truck back. They're not expecting to be having to look for you 3, 4, and 5 hours later because, oh, you decided to go and have a lunch at, I don't know, Kingfish or something. You know, I don't know. But, you know, you have to be able to work without supervision and getting that job done. And then, you know, assume added responsibility. May not necessarily be in, quote unquote, your job title, but there may be an opportunity for you to show your leadership skills by assuming added responsibilities that may have belonged to somebody else, but on that particular day, they're not there. So you need someone to stand up, and Alec brought this up earlier. It's a team effort. You know, we're all working together for the common cause, and that's to protect public health and to protect this resource that we have, God-given resource called water. And if we don't have it, we're going to die. And that's just the bottom line truth to it all, you know? So those are just some of the attributes, I think: willing to learn, lifelong learning process and opportunity, time management, and working without supervision, continued learning. Those are attributes that I think are necessary for anybody in any profession, especially my profession, the water profession.
Yes.
That I'm digging on.
Preach, man.
If I could add to that, Alan,
yes, please.
I would say that, you know, I always like to say, like, if you have to do something in life, right? You have to do something. So if you're going to do something, be good at it. And if you're going to be good at it, why not be great
Then why
at
do it? Yeah.
You know, these are the things that are going to set you apart from the competition. I mean, certification is awesome. education is awesome. But like Gary had said, what sets you apart? What differentiates you between you and that other candidate, right? It's going to be you. It's going to be these attributes, whether it's, like he said, organizational skills, your ability to do it. You touched on a great point, too, of going outside of your comfort zone, going outside of that range of what you're expected to do. Because, I mean, really and truly, you could just go to work. You could be the 8 and skate guy, you could, or girl. You could be the person that just does what's required of you. Or you could go outside of that, and you could do these added extra jobs. You could take on more responsibility. You could ask for more responsibility. Absolutely. There's a lot of things within that realm that really set you apart, but also make you more valuable. Yes. And this value of certification that we talk about, I think it's universal. I mean, you can go anywhere with it. Yeah. You know, and here in California, I mean, we're blessed in the respect that these certifications that we have are of higher value in other states. So not only are you of good value, you're of even better value, say you go to Colorado or you go to Utah or you go to Arizona, like these levels, you know, so you can compare it, but because the regulations are so stringent here, like we have to know more, we have to do more. So, and it's a finite resource. That's a great point too, Gary, is water. I mean, like someone had said, God's not making any more water here on the planet, right? That we know, not yet. So
we got all we need.
We got all we need, and it recycles, right? It's just different forms, right? So we have to treat it. We have to turn it from wastewater into recycled water and then back into replenishment, you know. So it's a valued resource, and it's one that we're tasked with coming up with a way to kind of manage, you know.
Alec, I wanted to, there's one more topic. Gary just brought up a good one, so did Shawn. We're talking about certifications, and you mentioned CDL, your commercial driver's license through the state of California. And wastewater collections, water distribution, water production, water treatment even. Sometimes, majority amount of the time, I'd say, you are required or need to have a commercial driver's license. So that is a major certification, or excuse me, a major license or certification requirement that may be needed. There's things that people could do basically independently on that. You could go study, you know, online and take your permit test prior to being employed somewhere. So that you don't have to do your behind the wheel or anything. It's just all book work. Nowadays, a lot of it's online. And that just shows your initiative. So another thing that I tell others that don't have their CDLs, their commercial driver's license, is that, you know, there's endorsements that you need. You need air brakes, tanker, for what we do in wastewater collections, air brakes, tankers, general. You know, the different endorsements on your CDL. So there's endorsements that are required. Gary talked about this too. He talked about vehicle maintenance. So, you know, when you start, even up till today, like when we get in our vehicles, you have to do a pre-trip and post-trip. CDL is required that you do a walk-around, pre-trip, post-trip, in-cab, inside of the engine bay, you know, checking the air brake system. There's things that are, like, critical to know. And a lot of this stuff are things that job seekers, people in these jobs, and job seekers could do the research and find out this information even before they go to an interview, before they get hired at an employer. So I just always say there's a lot of information out there, especially related to your commercial driver's license. And it just will give you an advantage when you're entering a marketplace where many others may have their license. But if you walk in with the permit to show that this person took the initiative to go outside on their own without us telling them to obtain a certification or a permit, just something that sets you apart, like Shawn was saying as well.
Well said. So a great takeaway there, and something really important to know about our industry is the massive number of retirements. People leaving is creating all these opportunities. Your hustle will pay off.
It will. It will.
It might not feel like it. There is a little bit of patience involved in municipal government jobs. But man, you hustle, it will pay off in spades eventually. So go get those certs. Send in a lot of resumes, apply to lots of places. Agencies are a little slow, but then one will jump up and all of a sudden, there you go. So hustle, do the work in advance, and meet your deadlines. It's unbelievably how deadline driven our industry is. I don't know any other industry, to be honest, but
Yes.
Man, the certifications have deadlines,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
you know, to apply and to renew them.
Yeah.
The colleges have deadlines for
Yeah.
getting in there, like
The assignments.
everything. And then the regulators have a lot of deadlines. So let's talk quickly, Shawn. You know, there's a lot of regulations in water. How do you see that, in fact, impacting sort of our profession and what people are doing?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, like we said before, I mean, it's a highly valued critical resource, right? So whether it's drinking water standards or, you know, what we're putting into our bodies, I think a lot of people, they don't understand the level of regulation that's on water and wastewater, right? I mean, for water, for potable and consumable water, you know, there's such a higher standard. People think, they have this misconception that the tap is like dirty and the bottled water is cleaner. Like, you know, it's a choice, but at the same time, there's such a high emphasis on drinking water standards that I don't think people really come to realize what's involved in that to make that happen and to keep it clean and to keep it readily available and to have it treated and to have it, you know, such a you open the tap and there it is kind of a thing, you know, not just for the shower, but to drink, to use, to cook, right? And with wastewater, we're seeing such a change too. I mean, water regulation, you know, pure water regulation has been around since, you know, what, the 50s, the 60s, right? It's been around for a long time. So wastewater is fairly new. You know, I mean, we've always known what goes in comes out, but the ability of when it does happen, when there are mishaps, when there are problems, like the containment or the level of regulation on how you manage that, right? Hasn't always been so stringent, and now it has been for the past, you know, couple decades. They've been really working on that, and that's even continued to change. We have the new, you know, WDRs and the waste discharge requirements for our industry as well. So it's like that knowledge of knowing how to manage that and how to report that and how to estimate that and how to, you know, how to do the best with that resource to where you're protecting the public, you're protecting your community, you know, you're keeping it flowing in the pipe, you know. So that stuff's essential, and you know, certification is a big part of that. You know, a lot of the questions that people can encounter on the higher grades, the grade 3s, the grade 4s, are going to be regulation. But even down to grade 1 and grade 2, you should still, even though you may not be the person responsible for reporting, you know, or the LRO, the legally responsible official, you should still know the regulation. You need to know why you're doing what you're doing, like with anything, right? So, yeah, it's key, and especially with our industry, you can count on that not only staying the same, but probably becoming more stringent, right? I mean, that's just that's the nature of the game. True. And in a way, you know, it's tough, but at the same time, how can you complain about it? How can you not like someone making something a little more safer, or just kind of really bring together? And I think they've done a great job of that. The water boards have proven that. You know, it's shown a reduction in spills. It showed a reduction in volumes. And I mean, you can't account for everything, but you know, it's just there's a cognizant effort of what you're aware of and while you're doing your job and while you're performing it, and what to look out for. I mean, awareness is the key one, you know, time and gallons, right? So, yeah, I think it's super essential, you know, on a lot of levels, right?
Yes, and then Shawn, just like you're saying, and Alec, as you brought up, regulatory, the WDR revision, as Shawn was talking about, now we are required to report private lateral sewer discharges that enter into a catch basin. So things are becoming more stringent, which, you know, we're trying to preserve and protect public health and safety. So along with that, that's a large part of our job, like Shawn said. So we're often attending training, seminars, having to read the regulatory documents to try to stay abreast or aware of like changes. And there has been quite a WDR revision where things have changed. So now that one of the acronyms used to be a SSO, a sanitary sewer overflow. Now it's not called a SSO anymore. It's called a spill. So there's things like that acronyms are changing, things are changing. And you know, our job is, as you know, working water professionals, is we're always, it's a constant progression of learning, you know, and that's one thing I'd say in our jobs. Like I'm the LRO in City of Pomona, which means legally responsible official. Right. So it's a whole lot of responsibility,
Indeed.
But with that being said, you know, what we do is try to do the best that we can, be aware of our reporting requirements, the different categories of or sewer spills. I almost messed up. So the different categories of sewer spills, the time notifications, you know, for whether it's like your initial draft after you have a spill, depending on the category. Our regulatory notifications to Cal OES, the local public health agency, which are required. So yeah, there's so many factors, and your monthly no spill reporting. So like as a legally responsible official, we have monthly no spill reporting, and now they've recently added sewer laterals into that for private lateral sewer discharges. So it's just it's a lot. There's a lot, but one thing I'd say is that I am fortunate and blessed to have the opportunity to be in the role to be the LRO for my municipality. And I wasn't always in that position, so I take great pride in that. Like Gary, Alec, and Shawn said, we all take pride in it. And you know, we always are trying to level up, learn the best that we can, and our main goal is to contain, clear, clean any sewer spills. And always we lean on our other neighboring agencies with things like our local mutual aid, where we link up once a year, do spill training with many of the local agencies, which just help us stay sharp and sharpen our skills related to the regulatory stuff.
That's a huge thing that he just mentioned is mutual aid. That program is it's not just knowledge and getting together and kind of like staying connected with each other, but it's training. I mean, it's mandatory through the regulation to have spill training once a year, but also just to keep that common connection, because a lot of people, they view it in a different way. They don't necessarily see it for kind of what it is. And what is it? It's like a connection. It's like a common. It's like an extension of your resources, right?
Yes.
You don't always rely on them. You don't want to rely on them. But if you had to, and if the need comes about, like we had all this rain recently, right? Yeah. And it's just, I think agencies across the state experience that huge flood of water, and just that impact on their system and that strain on their resources, whether it's storm, sewer, water. I mean, it was just highly impactful. I mean, you're trying to protect your infrastructure. You're doing everything you can to keep it going, keep your pumps going, keep your pump stations going, keep your storm water in place so there's no damage to homes or infrastructure. So, I mean, that ability to be able to just get help for sandbags or get help for pumps or equipment or bypass equipment, like whatever you need, the fact that it's there is just like that emergency system, and it's just keeping in contact, keeping in regular contact, and the training. Yeah. Getting people familiarized with the equipment so where they're not so, it's not so daunting, it's not so overwhelming, or it doesn't become that issue to where there's the lack of knowledge, there's a lack of understanding about how to operate the equipment. You know what I mean? It's there. So, I mean, we see it. And the interaction between crews and between, individuals and agencies, it's like that network, keeping that network connected, and it's just.
It is teamwork.
It is.
So these are some of the reasons that we want you in this industry. This is a wonderful, beautiful mission that is our responsibility each and every day. And, to protect those clean rivers, those beautiful, sparkling beaches that California is famous for, that is our job. That is our full responsibility. And we want to see you in these roles. You, as an entry-level person on a sewer truck, might be the first one pulling up to a sewer spill. And like Shawn said, you need to know the regulations. You need to know what order to do things according to your agency and the regulations so that we protect those beaches and those rivers.
Yes.
All right. Let's take a quick time out. We're at time. There's probably time for 2 more stories. Does anybody have a story you really want to get out? Challenges you faced, or
in our industry, you'll see a little bit of everything, and that's the scary thing, but it's also the amazing and the really rewarding part. Like when you get into this, a quick story I would have would be when I first got into the supervisory role. I'd been doing this job I think maybe 3 weeks, and we had a contractor digging, and he hit and ripped off and damaged the top of one of our second biggest trunk lines in our system.
Oh no!
So. Hey, here you go.
Here you go.
Let's deal with it.
You're on the job,
we ended up having to respond. He was getting equipment, but he didn't have the right equipment on site, no bypassing. So we ended up responding with our own equipment, instituting and enacting our emergency procedures of bypassing. It was contained. It wasn't outside of the trench, but at the same time, we had to respond and we had to mitigate it and keep it flowing through bypassing equipment until we could get them the right parts to fix the pipe. Well, it's a little difficult to find you don't have on the shelf a 27 with a 6-inch lateral coming off of it. So you had to order it. So it took a couple days. So we literally had to go into a mode of continuous response for 3 days. To where we were maintaining that pump and that equipment. You would think, a lot of people who don't really know the industry and the equipment, you think you put it in place, you're good. You're not. You still have to maintain it.
Right.
You have to shut it down, clear it, put it back together. Like you're alternating different pieces and components of equipment to keep that flowing. And like anything in the industry, you have peak flows. Whether it's demand or whether it's discharge, twice a day you have peak flows that you have to deal with too. So it was a huge learning experience for me. But having done this, you know, the time that I've been doing it, I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot on a lot of different levels, good and bad. But I mean, it's all good because you know it's service, it's rewarding. You know, it pushes you to your limits to what you can learn and what you can do and what you provide. But
it's really great people like you too. I mean, those are really good team.
I have a story if I can.
Yeah.
Okay. The first thing I want to share with anybody that's out there that wants to know, I know we're not necessarily timing it, but it's worth the effort to get in the industry.
Yes.
It is worth the effort at the community college level. It's worth the effort at the certification level. It's worth the effort. So anything that I could say or help you to try and make it work, it's worth the effort.
Yes.
Now, my story. I was the Director of General Services. I'm not going to say what the name of the organization was, but you can figure it out if you listen very carefully to this podcast. But anyway, we were looking at the influent line, the trunk line coming into the wastewater plant. It's a 54-inch line.
wow.
So as it was coming to the plant, we were trying something in the cogeneration facility, and we wound up overstressing the pipe.
Wow.
We overstressed the pipe, and it collapsed.
Oh boy.
At which point we had a backup on the street in a very affluent area of Southern California. It literally was poop in the street.
Oh.
Now, you're talking about mutual planning and doing those kinds of things.
Yes.
That took it into its effect. So our training on that worked itself out.
Yes.
So we had this gentleman who went and got the backhoe and started developing a berm.
Nice.
So as the water is as the water is flowing down the street, it literally flowed into the plant.
Wow.
Yes.
We couldn't get this 54-inch pipe out of the warehouse, obviously, right?
Yeah.
So we had to order it.
Yes.
Took a week to get from Texas.
Wow.
So we had a lot, and in that, our whole headworks area was flooded with ice plants and everything, all
Yes.
kind of.
Wow.
So we had to kind of rebuild the plant after that. We were also concerned with the plant and its ability to process from the bugs that were non-existent at this point.
Right.
So it was an incredible time, an incredible time. I won't tell you how many millions of gallons spilled, but it was a whole bunch.
But you had a lot that
team
you
starts
had a lot that
working,
was
man.
contained.
Yeah,
That's the key
yeah.
point. You
But
adapted and overcame.
It took a while to contain it,
Yes.
but once we got it contained, our whole agency, the plant itself, was kind of flooded.
A swimming pool.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you never know what you're going to expect.
Right.
Yeah.
Hopefully
You never
not
know.
that.
No, you don't want that. But if as long as you had the plan in place
That's right.
to work with people to help
Yeah.
you get it done,
Yes.
you're good to go.
Romell.
And just like Gary and Shawn just mentioned, I'd say on a daily basis you encounter obstacles, issues. That's one thing I love about my job, though.
Yeah,
To be honest,
It ain't boring.
being in the water industry, I would say you have an opportunity to deal with various different challenges, adversities, things not going as planned, and responding to emergencies. And it is stressful in the moment, but one thing with training, mutual aid, like we're saying, and practice, all we could do is better ourselves. And that's one thing I'd say is, we've dealt with, just like any other municipality, sewer spills before where things weren't ideal situations. But I always tell my team, like, when there is an emergency, which there always, you always have to prepare and plan for one. So say, for instance, sewer spill, the most important thing is everybody being on the same page, everybody being cool, calm, collective, contained, clear, clean. We try to go back to the basics. And that's one thing I just wanted to share with everybody is that if you enjoy challenging work, this is challenging because one day you may have to you know, be doing wastewater collections. The next day, we're having a major storm. There's flooding, so you pivot. You know, we're assisting stormwater. You know, we're providing excellent customer service. So that's my story. Is that there's always challenges, and to me, I think it's all about your perspective during the challenges. And that's one thing I love even about being in my position, is that when we face these obstacles and challenges in the moment, I mean, it seems like, oh, this is never, like Gary said, it took a week to get that, and Shawn, you know, he had to order something. So in the heat of the moment, when, you know, when the stuff is hitting the fan, I guess you could say, you know, you're going to survive, you're going to make it through, but the most important thing is to, you know, rely on your training, your skills, your resources, wisdom of others, even in that case.
Absolutely.
And, you know, just don't be afraid to everybody makes mistakes, everybody has to learn, and it's a part of our process in growing as professionals. And yeah, I'd just say that there's always obstacles, there's always challenges, but if you believe in yourself, which I know you do if you're listening to this, and everybody here on this panel right here, when we believe in ourselves, we know we're gonna face obstacles, whether it's in, you know, life and our careers and stuff like that. But it builds resilience, it builds our character, it builds our ability to lead others, and that's why I love what I do. And and it's so impactful, and it means the most to me. The fact that when we can help others obtain their goals, and when we can help the public, serve the public, basically.
So it's all a big support system
good.
too.
Yeah.
All of what we do, it's all interconnected. You know what I mean? Whether you're even within your own agency, it's all a big support system. I mean, everybody helps each other, whether it's, you know, from public relations side all the way up to, you know, all the way down to, you know, the boots on the ground. You know, the pump guys, like everybody works together. And
we want to give a big shout out of thanks to the Yurupa Community Services District, founded right here in 1956 in the Inland Empire. They are a public agency providing award-winning services to the Yurupa Valley and East Vale. They serve about 140,000 people and provide community services, community centers, parks, recreation centers, water and wastewater services. They truly do it all. JCSD has a very long-standing and strong relationship with CWEA. Staff have received 4 awards from CWEA in just the last year and was recently honored as the Collection System of the Year. We're filming today from the beautiful Desi House here in East Vale. This home once belonged to Hollywood icon Desi Arnaz, and it was moved here and purchased by JCSD in 2015. Learn more about this beautiful house, how you can hold an event here or visit at thedesihouse.com.